Today, I wish to do a top 10 that, as far as I'm aware, has never been done before. A top 10 that allows me to talk about some Pokemon I don't bring up as much as others. 19th of January 2017, I made my top 10 favourite Pokemon video. 19th of January 2018, I've made my top 10 least favourite Pokemon video. And now, on the 19th of January 2019, we have the third and final part. My top 10 middle favourite Pokemon. People always go on about the Pokemon they love, or the Pokemon they hate, but what about the guys in between? What about the Pokemon that people look at and just say, it's okay. Well, that's what this video is all about. Now, picking your absolute favourite or absolute least favourite Pokemon is easy, but picking your absolute middle favourite, the one that would be around right at the centre if you ordered every Pokemon from the ones you like the most to the ones you like the least, that for some people might seem near impossible. So, for the sake of this list, I took every Pokemon line, eliminated the ones that I like the most and least, until I came down to just 10. The closer they were to the middle, the higher they would be on the list. These Pokemon I don't love, but at the same time I don't hate. Well, apart from maybe one, but you'll see. So, completing the favourite Pokemon trilogy, here is my top 10 middle favourite Pokemon. Number 10, Taurus. You mean the Pokemon that takes up almost the entirety of Ash's best Pokemon list is at number 10? Yes, that's exactly the Pokemon I'm talking about. One of the things I love about Pokemon is that the franchise is able to take a regular animal and make something wonderful out of it. Or they make this. With Taurus, it seems like they just took a regular looking bull and said, okay, how can we make this cool and unique? Oh, I know! I don't know, it doesn't seem quite unique enough. Oh my god, dude, you're a fucking genius! Now, a bull is already a cool looking animal, so there's no surprise we have a Pokemon based on one, but it was never really a Pokemon I used. Normal being a very abundant typing, Taurus didn't really stand out that well for me, even in its own generation. It's still undeniably cool though, and I totally get why other people love it. Number 9 is... Taurus! I'm kidding. Number 9 is Whismur. This is a prime example of a Pokemon that is completely overshadowed by its evolutions. Loudred is a goofy looking creature that has a memorable design that people especially remember if they played the Mystery Dungeon games. Then there's Exploud, not as memorable as Loudred, but still a pretty cool and interesting looking Pokemon. Whismur is a Pokemon that reminds me of a screaming child that won't shut the f*** up. Given that this line is highly based on sound, that's pretty much how I'd expect it to be like. Now, I might be over-exaggerating, but Whismur just isn't a Pokemon that stands out as much as others when it comes to things like cuteness or whatever. Apart from its eyes. Its eyes are like if they took Brock's eyes and did this. Also, fun fact, Whismur is Dob's personal least favourite Pokemon because it has a literal butthole. I'm not kidding. That's definitely my favourite thing about Whismur. Number 8. Quagsire. The very first time I used a Quagsire was in Heart Gold. When I needed a water type for my team, I decided to try out this thing. It has a great typing, and I hoped it would perform well. And it performed... okay. So at school you always have that cool kid. In this case, it's Swampert, the water ground type that everyone wants to be friends with. So Swampert's the cool kid, and then there's Quagsire, which is... Napoleon Dynamite.
Sir Court Godfrey of the Nessie Alliance summoned the help of Scotland's local wizards to cast a protective spell over the lake and its local residents, and all those who seek for the peaceful existence of our underwater ally.
Some of you might think that's a good thing, and to be honest, as someone who wasn't very popular in school, I can kind of relate to that. But be honest, who would you rather be? The cool kid or this guy? If you say this guy, you're a fucking liar. I tend to like the cool, awesome looking Pokemon the most. And Quagsire I wouldn't really call either of them. So it is kind of lovable in a way, which is why I don't really dislike it at all. Still okay though. Number 7. Seismitoad. Okay, so remember what I said about Swampert being the cool kid, and Quagsire being Napoleon Dynamite? In that case, Seismitoad is Pedro.
Are you gonna eat your tots?
No.
Can I have them?
It's like if you take every water ground type ever made, you know exactly which one people are going to find the coolest. And Game Freak could have easily made another cool looking water ground type. They have the first stage, which is the cutest and most adorable, and they have the middle stage, which is kind of derpy looking, but still likable. Then you have the final stage, the one that everyone loves, the one that you want to be by your side the most when taking down your enemies. But with Seismitoad, it almost feel like they decided, nah, it can't be as cool as Swampert. Instead, let's make it absolutely miserable. I mean, look at this thing. There are people who hate this thing, but instead of hating it, I just feel sorry for it. It's like, dude, I'm really sorry for whatever you're sad about. I mean, I don't really want you near me, but I still feel sorry for you. But no, I don't hate you, dude. I really don't. Although I don't really love you either. Number 6. Alolan Gore. So the concept of this thing's evolution is really cool. A Pokemon that evolves when you trade it with another, and then takes the armor of the Pokemon that's being traded, that's pretty awesome. I like it. But that's pretty much the most interesting thing about this Pokemon. Everything else is just... yeah, that's okay. It doesn't even have a really cool typing like its counterpart. Like when it comes to the bugs of Gen 5, it has almost no chance. It's like if I'm playing through Gen 5 and I want to use a bug on my team, you think I'm going to choose this majestic, beautiful creature? Or this? Again, it's okay. I totally see why people like it. I just like other things a lot more. Number 5. Slacking. Okay, so how do you make a Pokemon with legendary, gargantuan-like stats, something that you would never want to use? Well, first off, make it one of the ugliest things to grace the Pokemon world. Second, give it the absolute worst Pokemon ability in the game. Like, what is this? You think I'm going to use a Pokemon that does literally nothing every other turn? Now on the plus side, if you go against one of these things, you can easily take advantage of the fact that it doesn't move every other turn. It's also a pretty iconic Pokemon of the home region, which is why I don't really mind it. Still, never going to use one though. Number 4. Kaldur. You know those Pokemon that are really good in battle, so you use them to either destroy your opponent or just piss them off, but then you go against one and you want to rip your hair out? Well, for me, that Pokemon is Chansey. But Kaldur also falls on that line. I think I'd like Kaldur more if it wasn't so ugly. I mean, I don't think it's as ugly as Slacking, for example. And I'm not saying every Pokemon shouldn't be ugly, but look at it. Why is its nose red? And what is this? Seriously, what is that? Also, are they supposed to be veins? Because if so, that is gross. Again, it's a Pokemon I wouldn't mind having on my team since it's really strong. Just not a Pokemon I really want to look at much. Number 3. Altaria. Now, I'm someone who likes to have at least one dragon on their team. They're arguably the strongest types of Pokemon in the game, even if they do lose to f***ing Tinkerbell. So I'm playing through her and I'm thinking, you know what, I want to use a dragon. Let's see what the home region has to offer. Alright, we got a pretty cool looking dragon here. Don't know why it's wearing goggles, but looks fine. Oh, look at that. Pretty cool ass design. If it's as strong as Dragonite, then we might have a winner. Alright, and my third choice is... There's nothing remotely wrong with Altaria. Like, it has a pretty nice design and all. It's just super underwhelming for a dragon. And apart from its Mega, it's pretty bad for a dragon as well. So it's not a Pokemon I'm using anytime soon, especially when it comes to the Dragons of Hoenn. And dragons in general, to be honest. It's still not too bad though. Also, who thought it was a good idea to make it 400 candy to evolve Swablu into Altaria in Pokemon Go? That's f***ing bullshit! Number 2. Actus. You guys remember this list I made a few years ago? Probably not. But this was my first ever top 10, and taking the crown on my first ever top 10 was Actus. And it probably still is the most forgettable Pokemon ever to some people. Not so much now, but I guess that's why it's so high on this list and so many others. You never really hear people talking about it. It's not bad, in fact. I think it's quite cute. But it's not really notable. Like, you've never seen it on someone's favourite list. And if you have seen it on someone's favourite list, then you're a goddamn liar. Okay, I'm obviously kidding, but still, pretty much the only lists I see it on are the most forgettable ones. It's a shame because it is quite likeable, but again, not really noteworthy enough. And my number one middle favourite Pokemon of all time is... Unknown. Specifically Unknown O and Unknown K. I'm kidding, it's Blaziken. It's actually Blaziken. Why, you may ask? Well, it's a funny story. So there are two types of people who view this Pokemon. The first type is, holy crap, Blaziken is cool, look at that design, it's awesome! And the second type is, that is a man in a chicken costume. That's f***ing dumb. So to try not make things too long, here is my reasoning. I wasn't able to play the Gen 3 games when they first came out. Didn't own a Game Boy Advance, so no way to play them. My introduction to Gen 3 was the anime. And my favourite starter from the anime was Trico. Because of this I started as Trico and Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, became Grovyle and eventually Sceptile, so Trico became my home starter of choice. By the time I knew about Blaziken and Swampert, I wasn't at a stage to become emotionally attached to them, so I just thought they were kind of cool and didn't think much else. Now everyone who's been following the channel for a while, or seen my favourite Pokemon video, you know that Infernape is my absolute favourite Pokemon. And before Black and White 2 came out, Infernape was seen as a better version of Blaziken. I of course was perfectly fine with that. However, when Black and White came out, they introduced hidden abilities, and we all know what happened to Blaziken then. This one ability single-handedly made Blaziken go from a pretty alright starter in battle to what some would describe as the best non-legendary in the game. And not only did Blaziken outshine everyone else in the competitive scene, it was extremely popular pretty much everywhere. It was one of the first Pokemon shown for Pokken. It was one of the first Pokemon shown to get a Mega. Hell, at one point it was the only starter to have a Mega. It was seen by many as this perfect Pokemon. So much to the point where I actually considered it to be one of my absolute least favourites. But when I really thought about it, asking myself, is Blaziken really one of my least favourite Pokemon? Nah. I mean, I may despise it at times, but if I did have to choose between Blaziken or any of these monstrosities, I'd pick Blaziken every time. There's still a part of me that thinks it's really cool. And honestly, if I didn't skip Gen 3, I feel like Blaziken might have been my favourite Pokemon instead. But that's not the case. It's overall the Pokemon I have the most mixed feelings for. So, it's a very fitting number one pick. Blaziken. My most middle, favourite Pokemon. And with the trilogy complete, you now know which Pokemon I like the most, which ones I like the least, and which ones are somewhere in the middle. If you haven't checked out the other two videos yet, please do so. If any of your opinions align with mine in any of the videos, then great. But more importantly, I do hope you enjoyed, and please leave a like if you did. Subscribe for more videos in the future, and until next time, thanks so much for watching.